In every city, there are stories that never reach the papers, stories whispered in the hallways of business. This is one such story, the rise and fall of two brothers, Stephen Carter and Anthony Carter. Together they built a dream from almost nothing, but dreams have shadows, and in those shadows, greed can take root. What began with shared vision and brotherhood would become a battle of trust, betrayal, and survival. Their story is more than business, it's a mirror for every choice we make in pursuit of success. Listen carefully, for this isn't just about finance. It's about the values that define wealth itself, integrity, loyalty, and the cost of losing them. Every great empire begins in humble places. For Stephen and Anthony Carter, it started in a small garage with barely enough light to see the blueprints on the table. Stephen was the strategist, sketching numbers, imagining growth and profits. Anthony was the heart, full of energy, excitement, and optimism, always thinking of how their work could help others. They shared pizza dinners, sleepless nights, and promises of loyalty. Their dream wasn't just a company, it was a future built on blood and trust. In that moment, nothing seemed stronger than brotherhood. But in business, as in life, foundations are only as strong as the hearts that carry them. And cracks, once formed, always spread. The Carter brothers' first official deal wasn't sealed in a boardroom, it happened in a modest cafe, over coffee-stained napkins. They laughed, dreamed aloud, and shook hands as if they were already CEOs of a Fortune 500 company. Anthony was radiant, his eyes shining with belief in their mission. Stephen smiled too, but his gaze lingered on the numbers more than the meaning. That handshake was more than a business transaction, it was a bond. Two young men daring to step into a world that devoured the careless. For Anthony, it was about shared victory. For Stephen, deep down, it was already about ownership. Their hands clasped tightly, but their hearts were not perfectly aligned. From that cafe table to a bustling office, the Carter brothers' vision exploded into reality. Employees joined, drawn by passion and promise. Investors began calling, eager to ride their wave of growth. Anthony became the face of inspiration, standing tall before the team, motivating them with talk of purpose. Stephen managed the books, his eyes glued to profits and projections, measuring worth in dollars alone. To the world, they were unstoppable, a perfect balance of dreamer and strategist. But within success lies the silent test of character. Prosperity does not create greed, it reveals it. And slowly, success began to shape two very different men, bound by business, yet divided by desire. Recognition came quickly. At a glittering gala, the Carter brothers stood side by side, receiving awards for innovation. The spotlight was blinding, the applause deafening. Anthony spoke first, his words full of gratitude for the employees, the customers, the community that believed in them. Stephen followed, his tone colder, focused on profits, investors, and financial milestones. Both were cheered, yet the contrast was undeniable. That night, they wore the same suits, but not the same spirit. Anthony saw people, Stephen saw power. And while the crowd celebrated unity, a silent division was widening. For success can disguise fractures, but only for so long. And beneath the gold, shadows were beginning to grow. Late nights in his study, Stephen sat alone, the glow of his laptop illuminating tired eyes. On the screen, numbers danced, profits, transfers, accounts. His fingers hovered, then clicked. Small amounts at first, moved quietly into private spaces. He told himself he deserved more, that Anthony's optimism didn't match his hard calculations. Each transfer fed the hunger. Each secret account became another brick in a wall between them. Greed doesn't shout, it whispers, justifying every action until wrong feels earned. And in that silence, Stephen's path shifted. The empire they built together was no longer a shared vision. In his heart, it was already his alone. Anthony often stood on the rooftop of their office, watching the city lights with childlike wonder. To him, success was a chance to give back, to employees, to communities, to the people who had nothing. He dreamed aloud to Stephen about scholarships, foundations, and building a legacy that mattered. Stephen listened, but his smile was thin, his mind miles away. Anthony's dreams were painted in humanity. Stephen's in gold. Two brothers, standing side by side, but facing entirely different horizons. And in those moments, you could feel the quiet tragedy, the kind that begins not with betrayal, but with silence between two hearts once united. As their company expanded, investors began to notice discrepancies. Small numbers that didn't add up, whispers of funds that disappeared without explanation. Anthony defended Stephen, brushing it off as oversight. He still believed in his brother's integrity. But behind closed doors, Stephen grew sharper, more impatient, deflecting questions with arrogance. Trust in business is fragile. Once questioned, it spreads like wildfire. Anthony began to sense it, the unease, the distance. Yet he clung to hope, believing loyalty was stronger than suspicion. But when money speaks louder than family, even silence becomes a warning. And soon, silence would no longer be enough. In dimly lit restaurants, Stephen met with shadowy consultants, men who promised shortcuts to power. Their suits were pressed, their smiles sharp, their words poisoned with greed. They taught him how to move money faster, how to hide transactions deeper. Each meeting pulled him further into the darkness. Anthony still preached vision and heart at the office, but Stephen's nights were consumed with schemes. He was no longer building wealth, he was hoarding control. Business, once their shared dream, had become Stephen's battlefield. And with every secret signed, every hidden deal, Stephen's footsteps echoed louder toward betrayal. In the soft warmth of a home kitchen, Anthony approaches Stephen, sincerity in every word. Steam rises from coffee, yet the domestic calm contrasts the tension between them. Stephen stands defensive, arms crossed, unwilling to face the shadow creeping into his brotherly bond. Financial success can blind even the closest relationships, reminding us that wealth without empathy erodes trust. This moment underscores the need for accountability and open dialogue, values no ledger can measure, yet essential for lasting partnership. Night falls over a dark warehouse where ambition turns dangerous. Inside a shadowed warehouse, dangling lights cast ominous patterns across boxes and equipment. Stephen works with grim determination, setting faulty wires near Anthony's workstation. He kneels, wiring a trap with grim determination, the culmination of greed taking a dark, physical form. Anthony's unsuspecting workspace glows in the distance. Shadows stretch across the cluttered space, emphasizing the risk hidden behind greed. This is the turning point where moral compromise manifests physically. Financial schemes may seem clever, but the ethical cost, and potential harm to others, can be devastating. Ambition without conscience is a perilous path. Sparks fly as Anthony stumbles, saved at the last moment by loyal employees. Stephen watches, his plan exposed, his control slipping. The chaos reveals consequences that money cannot prevent. This moment embodies the timeless truth: shortcuts, deception, and selfish ambition invite downfall. Courage, loyalty, and integrity are the forces that protect the righteous, reminding us that human decency often outweighs financial gain. In a stark, bright boardroom, truth emerges on projected screens, hidden bank accounts, secret dealings, exposed for all to see. Investors recoil in shock. Stephen's pale, defeated form contrasts with Anthony's heartbreak. Wealth gained through deceit crumbles, leaving only regret. Financial lessons here are clear: transparency safeguards trust, while greed destroys it. Every financial decision carries moral weight, shaping both success and personal legacy. Rain drenches the night as Anthony confronts Stephen in a parking lot. Neon lights shimmer on wet asphalt, reflecting the clash of resolve and regret. Words are few, but meaning is deep. Choices have consequences. Stephen's silence signals awareness too late. Here, the moral is unambiguous: greed and betrayal may bring temporary advantage, but ethical bankruptcy leads to isolation, loss, and permanent separation from those who once trusted you. Alone in his luxury penthouse, Stephen watches the collapse of what he built. Headlines scream financial ruin, champagne bottles litter the floor. Reflection in the glass mirrors the internal ruin of character and ambition misused. Financial success is meaningless without integrity. This scene is a stark reminder: shortcuts, deception, and greed not only destroy wealth but corrode the human spirit. The higher the climb without conscience, the harder the fall. In a small rented office, Anthony rebuilds what was lost, modestly but with conviction. Loyal employees gather around, motivated by fairness and vision. Humility and diligence replace excess and greed. Here, we see the power of resilience and moral leadership. Honest work, ethical decision-making, and the rebuilding of trust create foundations stronger than wealth alone ever could. True success grows slowly, rooted in character. In a brightly lit office, Anthony extends trust and fairness, shaking hands with a small business owner. Employees work diligently in the background, reflecting a culture of transparency. Here, financial gain is aligned with ethical behavior. The lesson is clear: sustainable success comes from creating value for others, honoring commitments, and nurturing genuine relationships. Profit without ethics is fleeting, trust and integrity endure. In a dusty, abandoned garage, sunlight illuminates remnants of past ambition. Stephen touches the old whiteboard, tracing the dreams he once shared. Regret and longing fill his expression. This is the human cost of greed: opportunities wasted, trust betrayed, and relationships fractured. Reflection and humility are the first steps toward redemption, but the past cannot be erased. Financial missteps rooted in moral compromise leave scars beyond numbers. Montage of a growing office shows Anthony celebrating genuine achievements with his team. Progress charts, diligent employees, and small wins signify success earned honestly. Morale is high, energy is contagious, and the atmosphere radiates optimism. The lesson is enduring: consistent, ethical effort yields sustainable growth. Wealth built on trust and fairness empowers not just the individual, but everyone involved, creating legacy over shortcuts. On a neon-lit city street, paths diverge. Anthony walks confidently toward opportunity, while Stephen fades into shadows. The scene embodies the consequences of choices: one embraces integrity, the other walks a path of regret. In financial and personal life, every decision shapes the road ahead. Success is defined not only by profit, but by the moral compass that guides each step. Choices made in shadow eventually catch the light of truth. At sunrise, the city glows with promise. Anthony stands tall, facing the light, a silhouette of perseverance and ethical ambition. Shadows of Stephen linger, fading as lessons remain. This moment captures the ultimate truth: wealth and success are meaningful only when guided by integrity. Life and business reward patience, fairness, and moral courage. The dawn illuminates a future built not on greed, but on trust, vision, and unwavering character. The story of Stephen and Anthony Carter is not just about brothers. It's about us, all of us, faced with choices every day between greed and integrity, shortcuts and sacrifice, wealth and values. Their journey teaches us that money reveals more than it gives, and trust, once broken, can cost more than any fortune. Remember, all that glitters comes at a cost. In life, and in business, greed can be the most expensive habit of all. If you enjoyed this story, like, subscribe, and join us again, in Golden Peril.